Skarbrand is a huge problem for factions which cannot easily burst him down with missiles. Warriors of Chaos obviously fall into that camp. Today I've got a double cast, in fact, both land battle and domination, Skarbrand versus Belakor in both. So today, starting Cool Umbrella's land battle here. With Skarbrand, of course. He's backed up by some Minotaurs with great weapons. Love these picks. Against Warriors gives you some elite anti-large AP. Of course, the scaling weapon damage on Skarbrand is absolutely ridiculous. You can get him well over 1,000 weapon strength pretty reliably as long as you keep him alive. We've got some Marauders of Khorne here, some Hellforge hosts there in the back. The Regiment of Renown Exalted Bloodletters, also very strong unit. And then a huge hound, mobile force of hounds here. Yes, hound force indeed. Flesh hounds and Warhounds of Khorne. For Rocket Ruse Warriors of Chaos here, he's got Belakor leading the way, some spawns, whole bunch of Marauder Horsemen, definitely very, very good. Marauders up front. He's got a second line of some Chosen here with great weapons. Very interesting pick against Khorne. The armor piercing elite stats should pay off reasonably well, but they actually trade pretty badly with Exalted Bloodletters, which is why I might not necessarily always take them in this matchup. Maybe look for some other options. But anyway, let's see. Cool Umbrella taking a nice flank approach here. Kind of gets countercharged a little bit by the Chaos Spawn. Beautiful Scything Breath attack too. Not quite full-on side shot, but still takes a good chunk of those Marauders. Gets him a sweet 22 kills. Starts to charge up that weapon strength a little bit, but Hound Force is incoming. They're going to strike forth. Eat a little bit of Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma, it looks like, on that Flesh Hound, and they're going to disintegrate fairly quickly, being overwhelmed by numbers. But we've got more Warhounds lurking in the distance. The Marauders of Khorne are going to start to make contact. I'm still not at all a fan of Marauders of Khorne, but you don't really have a lot of options with Khorne, so you kind of are forced to take them. But I do think they could do with like a little bit of a stat increase, just like a +2 and 3 melee defense. Go a long way for a unit of this type, but Skarbrand over here just kicking spawns across the field. Oh, I love Skarbrand for so many reasons. His animation set, just the full-on NFL punt is definitely one of them. A beautiful Pit of Shades here is going to do less damage to the Hellforge host, of course, because of their magic resistance, but still a little bit of a friendly fire shot there will help them grind through those Chosen. And it looks like, in the back here, Flesh Hounds just continuing to get counteracted by spawns, but the Minotaurs come through relatively unopposed, and the biggest threat to the Minotaurs is, of course, the Marauder Horsemen's Javelins, and they're still being fairly well countered by the Horn Dogs here. Hound Force is definitely taking some casualties, taking some leadership hits, but at the very least contesting and finishing off quite a few of these Marauder Horsemen's unit models is going to be enough, hopefully, to help these Minotaurs carry. Obviously, Skarbrand is the main target here, and there's also not a lot that can directly threaten Skarbrand here. I mean, obviously, Belakor cycle charging him from the air, just mocking his absolute lack of wings is going to be pretty painful. But at the same time, right now, Belakor is sensing that he needs to keep these Marauder Horsemen alive, going to try and strike out against Hound Force and take them down. Certainly easier said than done, as Skarbrand also chooses to pressure the Marauder Horsemen there. Hellforge hosts also getting into some Chosen. Another engagement that they will excel at. Their physical resistance helps them here, and the anti-infantry AP is quite high. Have they got their Hellblade charged up yet? No, not quite, but soon, no doubt. Minotaurs also getting matched up against spawns here is a pretty ideal situation for them. If they get surrounded by like Marauders and spawns and, obviously heavily outnumbered, they can get dragged down here as well, but right now, staying relatively clean, kind of ping-ponging between these two, staying within range of Marauder support as they filter through and screen out some of these undivided infantry. Skarbrand also coming back over to continue charging up his kills. Let's check in on the weapon strength counter. Closing in on 800 weapon strength there with everything going. A little bit of a 20% from slaughter and carnage. Absolutely insane. And then here comes the enrage from Skarbrand as well. See if he can force Belakor onto the ground here. Shadow Shroud gets popped in response by Belakor. Great job there to use that to try and prevent the enrage from happening, but even still, I think Belakor should probably try and disengage here. Eventually, he does get enraged. Still has the Shadow Shroud active, so it's not too big of an issue for him to just sit and take this. But Minotaurs end up, as prophesied, getting outnumbered and dragged down. They should be back. Khorne of Khorne active on them, and it looks like the Hellforge host also giving up. Giving up the ghost doesn't really sound right as it comes to demons, but still managed to get 132 kills before they disintegrate. But lack of support units is potentially going to come back to haunt Skarbrand. He does still have some of Hound Force alive out here in the distance. Cool Umbrella doing a good job chasing routing units off the field and still continuing to pressure the Marauder Horsemen constantly. Of course, the limited missile threats would be decent against Skarbrand, as many javelins as they can throw into his beautifully sculpted butt. What? Huh? I mean, yes. But of course, Skarbrand in a big blob fight like this, especially with all this low leadership stuff, like a lot of the Marauders and whatnot are going to want to Terror Route. There's no immune psychology AoE like the Undivided ability you can take with Archaon or something else, protecting their leadership. So, I mean, obviously spawns are unbreakable, they'll fight until the bitter end, but Minotaurs do come back and just help contribute in cleaning up some of this additional support. Of course, Belakor is still alive out in the distance. He's going to be potentially tough to deal with into the late game. We've got some more spawns coming in and some more Marauder Horsemen as well, with just a handful of ammunition left, handful more javelins. Hound Force also just about out. One more Warhound just shatters right there in our view. So looks like the mobile units of Chaos Undivided should be able to collapse here and start to deal with big old Skarbrand. But let's see. As it is right now, Minotaurs continuing to hold out, forming a nice protective shield, blending through these Chosen. I mean, the Chosen certainly will contribute some damage onto Skarbrand in a little surround like this, but really only going to go so far. They are going to want to Terror Route as well, or just straight up route, and all of a sudden, Khorne's in a pretty good position. I mean, Cool Umbrella certainly having all of these Marauders still around, even just to, like, this kind of charge, support the Minotaurs so they don't take all the hits from the Marauders there. Belakor charges in, though, as Skarbrand is out in the distance. A nice bit of shades, too. He does charge the Minotaurs directly, kills one of their models, and Terror Routes them instantly. It's definitely the right call. The Marauders then also Terror Route for Khorne. So, very quickly, that kind of rally that Skarbrand was putting together falls apart. Another breath attack there. Should be his final one, I think. We might have missed the third one, but 160 kills there. 881 weapon strength, almost Khorne's perfect number. Let's see. Going to be up to Skarbrand to solo carry the rest of this game, and certainly Belakor has taken quite a bit of damage. It's risky. I mean, the kind of avoid killing Skarbrand until the late game strategy definitely is viable, but at the same time, you run the risk of him significantly charging your weapon strength. So, like here, Belakor, obviously 500 weapon strength, definitely not bad. He's got decent enough combat stats, especially with Shadow Shroud active. Dark Master also can significantly nerf melee attack of Skarbrand. I would probably use these one after the other if possible, and not use them both at the same time. You can get maximum uptime of damage reduction, basically. Skarbrand's going to drop that Rage Embodied here and rage all these support units into him and just continue to farm kills here and try and charge up his weapon strength. See if he can break that 1,000 mark. I said you can get over 1,000 weapon strength with him reliably. I would say more reliably in Domination, but in land battles, as long as it's a long land battle like this, where you can, take advantage of it, can benefit you quite well in the late game. Looks like he is up over that 1,000 marker with everything active, excuse me, even including wounds, which is quite fascinating. But Skarbrand holding firm. Belakor charges in. He pops Shadow Shroud. I think he probably pops Dark Master as well at the same time. Again, I think this is ultimately a mistake. You probably want to use one after the other, but the Undivided support units aren't going to stick around for too long. Leadership being very tattered. Going to want to Terror out pretty quickly, but Skarbrand focusing his attacks into Belakor isn't really hitting them too much. Horn of Khorne is used to somewhat counteract Dark Master while it's active, but it does drop pretty quick, leaving him at a sweet 99 melee attack. Weapon strength down a little bit from the poison from the Warhounds there, but even still continuing to fire it up. And Belakor kind of sweeping out and away a little bit far. This whole time, he could have been cycle charging, potentially, with the support of these ground units, but went a little bit too far away. Now he's going to have to play some catch-up as Skarbrand just continues to chain route everything. A lot of shattering going on here. Both the Chosen now shattered, Marauder Horsemen, and the Warhounds not long for the battlefield. Could be heading out fairly shortly. Here comes Belakor swooping down from the sky. Yes, indeed. Oof, nice hit there on Skarbrand. Didn't bring Enfeebling Foe, which ultimately may also prove his downfall. Would have been nice to get that just standard melee attack, melee defense debuff. The defense in particular is super important, and this engagement honestly could go either way. It's all RNG dependent, right? If Belakor makes his attack animations like there, he did not. It actually staggers Skarbrand, but doesn't deal any damage, right? Which means he misses. But then Belakor takes one hit, and it literally only takes a couple of hits with how juiced Skarbrand is. And Belakor goes down there. So, like he might actually been going down based on the way he fell there. But let's ignore that for now. Let Slaanesh get too excited. And look at the value on Skarbrand, man. Almost 5,000 damage value. Absolutely insane. Just an amazing performance altogether. And very, very strong day for him. Minotaurs with great weapons also pay for themselves. Really like the pick in this matchup in particular to help support Skarbrand. Given, you know, you keep him safe from all the Marauder missiles with all this mobility, which is kind of what happened. I mean, ultimately, a Hound Force doesn't pay for itself, but screening for these more expensive units ends up being worthwhile. At the end of the day, one of the Marauders of Khorne actually does pay for themselves as well, which is nice to see from a meat shield unit like they are. Belakor, not so much value on him. He is very expensive and very good, but combat-wise, he does fall over against some of the Khorne characters. Obviously, like we saw here, he can't really hold a candle to charged up Skarbrand, so it's a tricky bring against Khorne. I might go with something else. I don't know, I'd kind of have to sit through this matchup a little bit and think about it, but there's a good variety of stuff you could take with Warriors of Chaos, so let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I don't know, Belakor is still a pretty solid option. He is just very expensive, especially when you take a couple of Chosen in the front line too. It's going to leave you pretty thin overall. I think the Chosen could have been better served to just be turned into like more Chaos spawns or more mobile supporting units. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But, yeah, Marauder Horsemen do a reasonably decent job when they can get a hold of good targets. 143 kills and 620 damage value. Also not bad at all on some Warhounds. So, pretty good stuff on this battle. I do have one more to show you. Like I said, some sweet domination action. So, let's get to it. And Belakor's back now on the mountains of Morn. We've got Rebel King here. Is the one who sent this in. And it's going to be Domination, of course. Skarbrand against Belakor once more for the Warriors' starting army. Or, sorry, Khorne's starting army. We'll go with that. 3 Marauder Horsemen of Khorne. He's got some Exalted Bloodletters and Hellforge Host as well, and a regular Bloodletter. So nice, strong anti-infantry squad there. And that appears to pretty much be it for the starting army on the other side. For Belakor here, he's got Belakor, of course. Some Marauder Horsemen of Khorne with throwing axes. Very interesting. Or just regular throwing axes? Yeah, just regular throwing axes, my apologies. Looks like 2 chariots, including the Arwar, Sibilant Slaughtercade, Marauders with great weapons, some regular Marauders, and the same here in the center. Let's take a look at the reserves. For the Khorne's reserves, they've got 1 unit of Blood Crushers, unit of Exalted Bloodletters, the Brutes of the Hound, 3 Flesh Hounds, another Marauder Horseman of Khorne with throwing axes, a single Fury, just kidding, 3 Furies and a single Marauder of Khorne. For Warriors Undivided under Belakor, they've got 3 spawns in reserve with 1 Manticore, 1 additional Chariot, 3 Hellstriders, of course, 3 Marauders great weapons, Warhounds, and 3 Marauders, just regular infantry Marauders. And now we're getting to it. So the Marauder Horsemen are going to contest in a little skirmish phase right here. Skarbrand getting involved. Nice breath attack. Hits a bunch of the trees, so not as effective as it could have been, but still, he does manage to pick off 5 of those Marauder Horsemen and then just terror route them with his mere presence. I mean, I can't say I blame them. Yeah, it's interesting to see the chariots here. I kind of like the pick, but at the same time, the Sibilant Slaughtercade will use one of your marks, which you need for 4 Hellstriders. Just full stop. If you want to win reliably with Warriors of Chaos, you should be taking 4 Hellstriders in pretty much every game except maybe against Dwarfs. But even against, like, Skaven and stuff. Anyway, Marauder fight underway with, of course, Khorne going to be taking the day with their superior charge bonus, weapon strength, and, oh yeah, Skarbrand, terrifying and just smashing Marauders in the face. There you go. And as we take a look at the wide view here, Marauders pushing forward for Belakor, but also got the Hellstriders out already. And of course, you want as many of those as you can, as mentioned, so we're going to see them deployed and used probably against the Marauder Horsemen of Khorne here. I mean, they are faster than the Marauder Horsemen. They've got poison, anti-large, excellent stats, can definitely beat them in melee, no problem. Sensing this, Rebel King's going to redeploy. Or sorry, Andres is the one who sent this in. My apologies. Going to redeploy his Marauder Horsemen over to his Hellforge host here. They might have just been in skirmish mode, to be honest, but still, having that sporting infantry there, although they're more anti-infantry, still will be able to kill the Hellstriders relatively efficiently. Also, Skarbrand is here. Belakor dives down real quick to get a quick tear out on the Khorne Horsemen, back up into the air to avoid taking a fight with Skarbrand. He can get support, if Belakor can get support, rather, with a nice Hellstrider surround on Skarbrand. That certainly would do the trick. Excuse me, got some hiccups going on. And obviously that anti-large cav would be soaking some of the hits and also dealing significant damage to Skarbrand. Not to mention Belakor, of course, himself would be fighting there. But here in the center, the Warriors do prevail. Fleshhounds getting dragged down by Hellstriders there with the support of some Marauders. And no real contest here. Maybe there was a little bit of a brawl earlier on with some mobile units. Looks like we've got some more Fleshhounds moving over there to try and maybe get at those chariots. I'm not really sure. But anyway, we've got Belakor fighting Skarbrand once more. Belakor drops down, but this time the support situation is going to be significantly in favor of Skarbrand. He's got 2 units of Bloodletters, including the Hellforge host, so really not a position that Belakor wants to be in, and he actually does get the Rage embodied after just a couple of hits. Skarbrand manages to get him enraged here. He does have Wrathful Reaper to straight buff actively his weapon strength, which does put him over 1,000 with that on, and it's enough to deal significant damage to Belakor. He's definitely in a huge amount of pain. That being said, battlefield control-wise, the Warriors are definitely in a very good position. The Marauder Horsemen here do end up getting a little bit eaten up there. Not really sure why I'm getting such bad frame rate stuttering on this map in particular, but I apologize, guys. It's coming through on the game a little bit, so it's probably coming through on video as well. Yeah, I'll try and avoid those really jerky camera movements if I can. But anyway, Fleshhound's coming through, attacking those Marauders, trying to capture that objective. A little bit slow on the reaction from those chariots, but of course the micro is being prioritized, trying to get Belakor out of this fight, which he is just barely able to do. Shadow Shroud helping to ward off some of that disintegration damage even, and Belakor does manage to stabilize his leadership. Gonna throw a Pit of Shades there, better late than never, I suppose. Does manage to catch just the tail end of that Hellforge host, but definitely would have helped bail him out a little bit earlier had he casted it on that blob while he was still in it. Also would have got pretty good contact deal damage, but I mean, even still, spell resistance does matter a little bit for these Bloodletter units. Anyway, got some Hellstriders overextending here. Brutes of the Hound now coming out, along with some Exalted Bloodletters there. Marauders also getting ready to make a push on the center objective. Yeah, I think the Exalted Bloodletters honestly just, like, came back towards the spawn here in order to get those Hellstriders eliminated, but now Skarbrand, with all these infantry together, they can make a really strong push onto the center objective and should be able to capture it no problem. A couple of Marauders are not going to do much against, you know, thousands of gold worth of value collapsing there. Meanwhile, though, the Hound Force attack, Fleshhounds doing very little. I mean, I guess they are tying up a lot of resources here. They're also fighting chariots, which is kind of a janky engagement for both sides, but I would imagine with the infantry support, Warriors should be able to win that there. I don't know. Fleshhounds are good, but they're not that good. Anyway, Skarbrand murdering more infantry in the center as the Hellforge host, another Exalted Bloodletter, start to filter in a little bit. There's some throwing axes here, getting some good volleys, some excellent damage there on Skarbrand. Of course, he doesn't have any way of healing, so any damage that you can do to him with range fire in particular is going to be the best way of dealing with him, but Warriors obviously get very quickly pushed back, but a nice little outmaneuver here by Rebel King. He's going to send his Chaos Spawns to try and contest this objective. We've got Flesh Hounds coming as a response, though. Some Marauder Horsemen also camping that objective with their dual axes. Over on the far side here, Hound Force still grinding and still somehow tying down a lot of resources there. But Wrathful Reaper activated. One downside of that, though, is it does force Skarbrand to go out of control and enrage, which is not great here, given that he's in a little bit of a concave of these throwing axes, but his speed and charge animation will help him dodge some of those and just get into contact with the Marauder Horsemen, start to murder them very badly. If you look at his weapon strength here with Wrathful Reaper online, well over 1,000. Yeah, very, very strong. Brutes of the Hound also coming through now, so Andres here is doing a nice job macroing his units and getting the units into the right position at the right time. That being said, in points-wise, it's still very close. It certainly is anyone's game if Warriors can continue to trade. Value damage-wise, I mean, Andres does have a lead, about 1,000 points, but both players still have plenty of supply left and can bring in units at will, right? The Chariots could be redeployed, though, into the center. The Chariot micro, I have to say, from Rebel King, not trying to be rude, but just, I think he's prioritizing his micro elsewhere, whereas these Chariots could have been running shop on the Hellforge host. They're going to take damage in the process, it must be said, but still, you know, the lack of armor, the relatively light mass of Bloodletters means, let's see, they should take some pretty good damage from these Chariots, but the Marauder Horsemen of Khorne were looking to interrupt, but they all rout. And, oh my, okay, never mind. Maybe there's a good reason the Chaos Chariots weren't charging in here. Sibilant Slaughtercade does have Devastating Flanker, as they are Slaanesh Chariots. They're going to do more damage. They've also got the Soul Hunters, which will give them a little bit of ward save. This is one of the abilities that carries over from Hellstriders that makes them so overpowered. But here, I mean, they're going to do some pretty significant damage, but once the Bloodletters start to do attacks back, it will be pretty bad. And then, of course, Blood Crushers show up, again, meant as anti-infantry, but that armor-piercing damage certainly will drag down these Slaanesh Chariots in a big hurry. But nice job by Rebel King here, utilizing the space he does control to get these Hellstriders through, and they're now going to collapse here and probably can just beat these Blood Crushers outright. It's pretty crazy. The Sibilant Slaughtercade also kind of blobbing up some of the models there, not allowing them to get a full contact countercharge on the Hellstriders. Hellstriders get in, and let's see, we'll pick up a wide view as well. Skarbrand making his way over to defend against the spawn attack. The Flesh Hounds here and Marauders only doing so much against this much value of Marauders and spawns and whatnot. Skarbrand comes to equalize that significantly as Brutes of the Hound just clean up some Marauders before they can get to an objective. Here, the Hellstriders are going to move away. These Hellstriders, do they have Soul Scent charged up? Let's check in. Yeah, 3% damage resistance, a little bit of extra charge bonus. The damage resistance in particular, like 6%, because it does stack with their wards, with the physical resistance, right? You can get a significant amount. I mean, especially if they manage to eat a routing unit and charge up a whole bunch of kills, then come in the late game with like a 40% resistance between the physical and damage. Can be quite broken. And on top of their decent stats, anti-large bonus, poison, speed, everything else, Strider, immune to psychology, I mean, they are just wildly overpowered for the cost. They could do with like 150 gold plus cost increase, and they would still be very good, I think. But anyway, yeah, you see them just straight up beating that Blood Crusher, despite the fact that it's fighting with some exalted Bloodletters in melee. Yeah, feel the balance on that one, guys. But got some more Chaos Chariots coming back out here. Spawns move in to try and murder the Brutes of the Hound, which is a pretty decent choice. That high weapon strength on both sides. Brutes of the Hound will actually trade okay because of that high weapon strength. But let's look at Skarbrand over here. Looks like he's cleaned up that objective as the Chariot makes contact with those Bloodletters there. Yeah, up to 900 excuse me, 45 weapon strength. Slaughter and Carnage contributing 42% weapon damage and armor piercing. Pretty good stuff there. We've got more Bloodletters coming in, regular and exalted both. And they'll be able to continue to hold this objective. On the Warriors of Chaos side, these Marauders have just been defending this objective for some time, which, I mean, on the one hand, I understand. On the other hand, I mean, they're not really going to do anything against Bloodletters anyway, so might as well just not sacrifice them to Khorne. But who knows? Maybe working in tandem with these Hellstriders, like, you know, cycle charging the Bloodletters, get some work done. But Skarbrand is just such a monster at this point. Although, it must be said, Rebel King has managed to claw his way back on army damage value despite losing Belakor. Actually now has a 2 cap and is striking within striking distance to try and reclaim the lead here. Blood Crusher's just mostly ineffective. I mean, just barely netting over 500 value there against a bunch of Hellstriders, which is, again, kind of to be expected. Hellstriders' power level is just way higher, and 2v1 they could pretty easily beat the Blood Crushers, I would imagine. But anyway, speaking of Hellstriders, I mean, certainly they are OP, but the power level of something like Skarbrand is just way different. He is still taking some damage from them, but should be able to rout them off no problem. Throwing Axes move into a nice position, shoot through the trees, gonna block some of their shots, but still be able to get some damage in. Warhounds also deploy onto the objective to try and seize it, so Rebel King definitely pressing on all fronts, despite taking some horrendous losses. Has been doing a decent job here, but the Hellforge hosts and these Exalted Bloodletters having high demonic leadership means they are almost unbreakable. The Hellforge hosts in particular are functionally unbreakable, pretty much. So they're going to continue fighting here, just grinding it out and mopping up kills. And these light attack units for the Warriors of Chaos are going to do well to a degree, but I mean, against this kind of a concerted elite presence, got to the Exalted Bloodletters and Skarbrand, all with plenty of HP left to murder light units. It's gonna be tough for Rebel King to actually take that center objective. He's got good control of the peripheral objectives right now. He got some Fleshhounds coming through here, try and disrupt battered Hellstriders. Still have, yeah, what is that? 17% resistance. Did I say 40%? I meant 30% earlier when you add those two together. But anyway. With the Chariots here, the Marauder Horsemen also throwing some axes, could countercharge in here as well. They're going to be able to kind of team up and defeat those Fleshhounds. So let's see. Right now, Andre is still technically holding the objective, I think, which means, yeah, he is continuing to receive victory tickets from it. With this UI mod in Domination, you can actually see the time to win. On the right side here, on the left side is the amount of tickets that each player has, so it will kind of show you, like right now, if Rebel King is able to hold both of these objectives, he is on pace to win. Unfortunately for him, he's defending this objective with the Sibilant Slaughtercade. These Marauder units definitely need to collapse in here and help hold this objective, because Sibilant Slaughtercade relies mostly on its charge bonus. It does have anti-infantry, of course, which both Furies and Warhounds apply to, but these are Fleshhounds, which actually do count as large. They're not going to be subject to that anti-infantry bonus. And as a result, the Sibilant Slaughtercade are not going to be able to win this fight. Eventually, the Marauders do wake up and start to collapse onto this objective, but we'll see. Right now, it does look like Andres might be able to retake that objective, and he definitely needs to if he wants to win. It is going to be very tight. Right now, the margin of victory for both of these players is close to the same. We'll see there. Skarbrand also still surviving. Well over 1,000 weapon strength now, even without Rage Incarnate active. He's got, what, 50%? 62% from Slaughter and Carnage. Absolutely incredible there. And his Exalted Bloodletters and regular Bloodletters also trying to hold out. But let's see here. You've got now Marauders collapsing, trying to hold this objective. Got some Marauder Horsemen throwing axes that really just need to charge in at this point. Along with the Furies and the Fleshhounds. Oh yeah, Marauders are going to feel the pain of that frenzy and anti-infantry bonus and high weapon strength of the true hybrid Marauder Horsemen of Khorne. Very easily mop that unit up, and with all of this mobile capture weight, I think Andres is in a very good position to capture this objective, and not a moment too soon. I mean, he's got about 3 minutes to capture that objective before Rebel King manages to get the win, but now flipping that objective means he is about 2 minutes away from winning now. So let's see. He's able to somehow go for a back-breaking 3-cap here. It's a small possibility, but we'll see. Right now, these Marauders are just struggling to maintain any kind of power here. Because of the strong mobile forces of Khorne, I have to say, mobile Swarm Khorne is very strong with like a core of elites. I mean, Flesh Hounds have always been quite good. Marauder Horsemen of Khorne also, if you keep them safe from missile fire, are incredibly strong. Of course, Warhounds of Khorne and Furies also contribute nicely, so you can really do some very, very nasty swarm tactics with Khorne, and Skarbrand acting as kind of a centerpiece of that, an elite centerpiece, does give you that massive power level, and then all the swarm attack pieces can take out light cavalry, you know, skirmish cavalry, artillery, regular skirmishers. It's certainly easier said than done in certain contexts, but today Skarbrand proving his worth as he prevails, I think at this point pretty clearly, over Belakor, not once but twice in 2 different players' hands. Very fun stuff. Hellstriders trying to outmaneuver and just cap this objective quick, but they're going to have to go within, 40 seconds, less than a minute left to win for Andres, and I don't think that, yeah, right now they're not amassing enough capture weight on this objective. Like, oh man, the Sword of Khorne drops from the sky too. Does a huge amount of damage to those Hellstriders. They are definitely going to lose. Well, the Swarm Khorne now. Khorne Swarm? Swarm of Khorne? Cream Khorne? Creamy Khorne Swarm? I don't know. Yes, there it is. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that Belakor versus Skarbrand double cast, and on the Domination match, he almost equals what he got in that land battle, which makes that land battle seem all that more impressive. He was able to accomplish that, without resummons being a factor. Both of these Exalted Bloodletters also do quite well. Obviously, the Khorne Swarm, as mentioned, is quite strong. Even the regular Bloodletters look like they contribute quite nicely. But man, look at all these mobile attack units for Khorne, the Flesh Hounds. All well over 100 kills, over 100 kills for this Fury. I mean, the Marauder Horsemen that did get redeployed several times also, I think, yeah, maybe didn't pay for themselves twice, but still got a great amount of damage and value. Belakor did much worse in this one than in the last one, trying to actually fight Skarbrand. Here he went in and very quickly fell trapped to the Enrage, which can definitely happen to you if you're not paying close attention and being very thoughtful about how you deploy Belakor against Skarbrand in terms of getting the right support units, making sure you have a plan of escape before you even dive in. I'm kind of mousing over all these Warriors of Chaos values, but that's it for today, folks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.